Alright, welcome back to the Lua introduction, and in this lecture we're going to talk about relational and logical operators. So what are relational operators and what are logical operators? Well, first of all, I've listed the relational operators here, and they are, smaller than, bigger than, smaller or equals, bigger or equals, equals, and doesn't equal or not equal. And those operators produce a Boolean value, right? So they produce either a true or a false. So these comparisons or relational operators make a statement of either true or false, which also makes sense, right? There's either something is bigger or smaller than something else or not, right? So let's think, for example, let's make a test variable right here. Let's say, well, 3 is smaller than 20. Well, of course, this is true, because 3 indeed is smaller than 20. And we can simply print this out, saying is 3 smaller than 20, for example. And then we're going to print out a test, and let's see what happens. And of course, is 3 smaller than 20 equals true. So this is true. This statement here is true. Then we can, for example, say test is equal to 20 is bigger than 200, which of course is false. And then we're just going to quickly copy this. So I'm marking this. I'm pressing Control C and then Control V to paste it in. And then we're going to see 20 is bigger than 200. And let's print out test once again. And of course, this is false. Right. So those are relational operators, or also comparison operators, because you can compare things with each other. Now, in this case, we compared numbers, but we can also compare strings, for example. So we can have string 1, that's hello, and then string 2, that's also hello. So this could be, for example, two names that we want to compare, and then the comparison is equal to string 1 equals string 2. So this operator actually asks, is not an assignment operator as this one is, right? With a single equals sign, we actually assign whatever value we've written on the right to the left. And in this case, what we're actually going to do is we actually compare these two. And if they are the same, then this is true. So let's just print just comparison. And it is in fact true, because hello and hello are of course the same. Now if this is different, so hello 1, for example, then this is false, right? Because they no longer have the same value. But we'll keep it like this, and yeah. Right, and now to the logical operators. So these are all, well, single statements, and now we can also chain those statements together. So there are 3 logical operators, and, or, and not. And let's just look at an example. So we could have comparison, which is, of course, a Boolean value, right? So this compares the two strings together. And then we can say, well, and true. Okay, how does this work? What does this mean right now? Well, we're actually looking at one Boolean value on this side, and we're looking at another Boolean value on this side. And depending on what logical operator we use, it depends on what comes out. So in this case, of course, we have true and true, right? Because this is true, and true is always, in this case, true. You can also think about this as 1 and 1, right? Because true could be expressed as a 1, and false could be expressed as a 0. And if we then print out x is, well, x, I guess, and then this would be true, right? Because the relational operator and, if this is true and this is true, then the entire statement is true. So we can also put parentheses around this statement to make it more clear that this is a statement and these are the components. So this is nothing more than, let's say, addition in a way, right? But this is basically the logical AND operator. Now, to illustrate this a little bit further, I'm actually going to do this with 1s and 0s instead of true and false, because it actually gets a little complicated if you do this with true and false. So 1 equals 1, well, everyone would agree that this is, of course, true, right? 1 is equal to 1. And then we can ask, well, and 0 is equal to 0. And this is also true. So this is a true, true, and true. And this would then equal true. And this is with the AND operator, right? Once again. Now, we can also say, well, for example, 1 is not equal to 0. That is also true because 1 is not equal to 0. So this entire statement is true. And then we say or 0 equals 1. And now this is, of course, false, right? So we can see here, this is true or false. And this is equal to true. Why is this equal to true? This is the OR operator that we've used in this case. And the OR operator, so the entire statement of the OR operator, is true if either one of those is true or both are true, right? And in this case, of course, the first part of this is true. Therefore, the entire statement is true. And last but not least, we have the NOT operator. And this simply negates or, switches a true to a false or a false to a true. So we can say not X. And in this case, it would simply switch the X, which was true before, to a false in this case here. Right, so those are the relational and logical operators. It's sometimes can be a little bit hard to get your head around. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll be sure to respond. And yeah.